Good evening, everyone. This is Jeanette Martin on the MYBC Facebook page live streaming tonight on 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. So that means it is the MYBC. I'm so excited to talk to Natasha tonight. I'm tripping over my words, Natasha. The MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series is where I bring you people involved in the writing of books, whether it's agents, illustrators, authors, to have a little sit down and a little chitty chat about the whole process. So welcome, Natasha. Is it Silva?
Silva, yes.
Oh, I said it right. Awesome. Welcome. So if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your literary project.
All right. Well, I was born and raised in Canada, but I'm also a dual citizen of Portugal. I'm the child of immigrants and a long line of immigrants to this country. So my sister and I were definitely raised European. In terms of my writing background, that all started with my attendance of the Langley Fine Arts School. I was there from grade 1 to 12. And that's where my love of writing really started. I started doing poetry at age 13. I was writing stories much earlier. And when I was into the senior years there, I had become a writing major, and I ended up following that into university. So I had graduated a couple years back from UBC School of Creative Writing with my bachelor's, and I specialized in fiction and poetry there as well.
So much to unpack there, that's what they say in the interview world, and you can see it's a very casual conversation we're going to have tonight. So much to unpack. I just learned something from you, Natasha. I live in I think we live in the same city. I'm in Aldergrove. You're in Aldergrove, are you not?
Yes, in Langley. Yeah,
Langley, Aldergrove area. That I have driven by and gone to concerts all the time at Chief CPAS, which is connected to the Langley Fine Arts School. I had no idea that writing was part of, excuse my ignorance. I think of arts as painting or the music or that, but writing is also offered there, and that's one of the things you can do. Can you tell us a little bit about your program there? Because I'm fascinated now.
Yeah, well, Langley Fine Arts, it was a very special time when I was a writing major there. My teacher was Sylvia Niddle, and she unfortunately passed away from cancer a few years back, but she was just an absolute inspiration to anyone who walked through her classroom. It was done entirely different from every other classroom. Each graduating class, they got to have their own clock that the graduating class designed. So that room had like 20 different clocks on it. And we all got to decorate a ceiling tile as well. So there was evidence of every single cohort that had come through that room. And she was one of the kookiest ladies you could ever meet, but beyond supportive and just an absolute incredible mentor to have through the creative process.
I'd love to know, how did your parents support you in this endeavor of going to a fine arts school versus your traditional high schools where you check in with your math, your math, your science, your history, and all the rest of that other great topics? Don't get me wrong, but how did your parents support you in being a student of the fine arts?
Oh, my parents actually were the ones who enrolled me in the school, because I started there in grade 1. At the time, kindergarten wasn't offered at the Langley Fine Arts School, so I had gone to Fort Langley Elementary and then switched over in grade 1. And when elementary school, it's just kind of introduction to the art forms, right? So I hadn't really been exposed to a whole lot of the arts until my joining of that school.
Oh, I love this so much. We were chatting before we went live, But I truly believe we're the change makers of this world when we take this time to have conversations like this, that there's people out there that are at 99% wanting to do something in this world, and through the actions or words or even reading a book, they're going to move that 1%. And I think having me learning that about the Langley Fine Arts, because I'm a director on the board for the Fort Langley Jazz and Arts Festival. And of course, we hold events there all the time. And I really never thought of writing as a fine art, So how did you commit yourself to continue to write in your, say, your teen years that led you to writing the book that you wrote?
I was always someone who expressed my emotions through art forms. So before it was writing, it was music. And I played, I think, 5 different instruments while I went to the fine art school. And then I had always written in that time as well. And then it just became even more so once I became a writing major in those later years.
And what was your writing journey like in university?
In university, initially it started in Victoria. I did my first 2 years at UVic. So the first year was very introductory. The second year was our first year of doing workshops. So there would be anywhere from 10 to 15 people in the room, and we would all edit and give feedback on each other's work. And then obviously, once you had that feedback, you could choose to take that into account and change aspects of your work and improve it, or if it wasn't in the direction you were trying to go, it can kind of give you some different things to think about. And then in my 3rd year of university, it's when I switched to the UBC program. And it was the same thing, lots of workshopping, but the UBC program offered a lot more genres. And it was a bit closer to home, so there's a few good options there.
So you finished your university, and what did you hope to come out? Because there's a lot of kids that go to university and they do something totally different than what they studied. So when you came out of university, what did you want your end result to be, like your career to be involving writing?
I'm not entirely certain. I feel like I'm still kind of figuring that out today, but I've always had lots of stories running through my head. There's going to be many more books that I'll write, I'm sure. But the book that I did end up publishing, I was working on quite heavily through the last year of my university degree. So a lot of the work that's in that book is kind of a bit of a culmination of the things that I did in university.
Now share with everybody the type of book you wrote.
So I wrote a poetry book.
Okay, so the name of your book, and then we're going to get into why poetry.
Okay, my book is called North Star Heart.
And so the first book being poetry, what does it look like to pull is it a bunch of poems, a theme of poems together? So what did that project look like? Because I've written a ton of poems. I think, well, they're all over in journals all over the place, just random thoughts. And now I don't think I could pull them all together because they don't make sense. They make sense to me, but probably not to the world. How do you pull together a book of poems so it makes sense?
Well, initially, when I had started this book, my initial thought was I was going to do 4 chapbooks in the 1 year, 1 per season. And for those who don't know what a chapbook is, it's typically a handmade book of poetry with like 5 to 10 poems in it. So this was going to be the first one. And I had a few poems that I already kind of liked for the theme, because it was winter. So I was like, okay, it's going to be maybe a winter theme. And I had started compiling that. And I ended up taking my first solo trip up north to Smithers, BC in December. And that trip ended up being so inspiring for me. I wrote almost a third of the book in 3 days.
Wow.
And it was just, the trip made me realize that this was going to be a whole lot bigger than a chapbook. This was a project of its own. So the book is split into 3 different parts, and each part has a distinct emotional tone to it.
Okay, now you've just put another question in my brain to ask you. An emotional tone, what does that mean?
Like the first one, for example, it really acknowledges that we can go through some pretty dark times in life, and we need to acknowledge those dark times in order to appreciate the hope in the future that we have coming. And so the book, it ends on the last part is a lot of hope for the future, of hope of what we could be, but we can't get there without going through the more grisly part of life as well.
Oh, wow. In the name, the title of the book, where did that come from?
The title of the book was initially a title of one of the poems, and this book was untitled for a long time. And as I was editing that poem, I realized that that title was not the title of the poem, but rather it was more fitting for the entire collection. So that is how that came to be.
And when you mentioned that you took this trip up north to Smithers, by the way, Smithers is absolutely gorgeous. What incredible. First of all, why solo? Two, what or where do you find muses to write your books, or to write your poems, I should say?
Solo trip, I'd never been on a solo trip before. I wanted to push myself, and I figured if I went by myself, I could kind of turn it into a bit of a writing retreat, and there wouldn't be anyone to distract me, so to say. So that is why I went. I wanted to push the envelope for myself, and also I was hoping to find inspiration, and I was lucky enough to find it. And sorry, what was the second part of your question?
The muses, like where did the muses, like where do you find muses muses or inspiration or settings? Like how did you write the poems? Like where did you get the thoughts from them? For them, I should say.
I'm heavily inspired by nature. My degree is in creative writing, but my minor is in forestry. And I recently just finished a master's in international forestry. So my writing is definitely fueled by forests. It's fueled by nature. I get a lot of my ideas when out walking in nature. A lot of them just walking in general. Sometimes driving too, but that's annoying because I can only hold on to so many thoughts at once as I'm going around the curves there.
Oh, this is fast. Oh, fortunately, you're a very diverse lady there, Natasha. A minor in forestry. So what was your major, is it your paper that you write or study that you wrote about forestry?
So for my master's degree,
yes,
I did a course-based master's. So I didn't have a thesis I had to write, but I did have to do an internship. So I just recently wrapped that up, and I did that with the British Columbia Community Forest Association. And one of my main goals when I did my master's was I wanted to find ways of incorporating my creative background into the forest sector in BC. So I was able to do that in the project that I did with the BC CFA. They just celebrated their 20th anniversary, and I put together a video for them that encompasses all the wonderful things that we've accomplished in this province over the last 20 years of BC CFA and community forests all over the province. So I got to chat with many of them and kind of figure out some of their stories and compile it into this 15-minute video, which will be released to the public very soon.
Congratulations. What a
you.
unique project. So if you can show the front cover of your book, please. Love that. Oh, love it. Did you design the front cover?
Yeah, my sister did, actually. My sister's a visual artist, so she did my front and back cover, and there's a few illustrations inside the book too, so she did all that as well.
So can I get you to read the back of your book, please?
A collection of poetry divided into 3 sections. North Star Heart is a powerful journey of self-discovery, a reclamation of roots, and a beacon for the dreams of the future delivered through the eyes of a Portuguese Canadian. Your North Star Heart journey may take you to the tops of mountains, the shores of lakes, or the streets of a country you never thought you'd visit. It will reveal not only the nature of the outside world, but also the nature that guides who you are. feeling lost can be a catalyst for these journeys that ultimately lead us to the home we have been seeking all along.
Wow. I love poetry. I love poetry for the simplicity of reading, how it gets to, for lack of a better word, a point faster than reading even a short story, the rhythm that you naturally feel when you are reading poetry. I love prose. I think that's why I was attracted to you. We met at the Lake Erock Farmers Market, did we not?
We
About
did,
2
yes.
months ago. This is so exciting. I believe the divine hooks me up with people in the literary field. So now let's take the journey to, you've got the cover, you've got the pages, you've picked the poetry, the flow it's going to be, acknowledgements, all that good stuff. How did you get it to where it is today? How did you publish the book?
So once I had the manuscript together, I decided I wanted to get it as edited as possible before I hired someone. So I just wanted to hire a finishing editor. So I had quite a few classmates from my cohort at UBC. We traded off a bunch of work, and it was kind of exciting for us to get into workshop mode again after graduation. So I had a few old classmates help me, and a lot of my family jumped in and gave some read through on what they thought as well. And then I ended up hiring a Vancouver-based company called the Self-Publishing Agency. And so I hired them to help me with publishing support. They linked me up with an editor, and they also linked me up with a book layout designer. So she was also able to work really well with my sister, who did all the artwork, and they did some cool collaboration when it came to actually laying the book out and what is this going to look like when it's printed in our hands.
So from manuscript, you're finished with your manuscript, you've edited as far as you can, to now you receive that first book in your hand and you went, oh, I wrote this. This is mine. What was the time frame?
From the time the manuscript was finished to in my hand was about 9 months. And I've been working on it prior to that for probably another year.
Okay. And I asked that question, much like I go back to that 99%, is so many people think it's, oh, write your book in 3 days, write your book in that whole truth factor of what it can take to get a book out there to market. Now, is your book available to purchase in any local bookstores here that in the Lower Mainland that some of us can go?
Yes.
Instead of ordering it online.
Yeah, I have it at Indigo Langley. I also have it at Western Sky Books in Port Coquitlam, and I have it at Totally Bookish in Mission.
So if we can just chat just a bit about that. So how did you approach, say, the independent, and Indigo is, big corporation bookstore. How did you approach the bookstore owners to accept your book to go on their shelves?
Yeah, for the two independent ones, I researched them first. I saw that they did do books by local authors, and then I had reached out to them via email. I told them who I was, who my book, or what my book is and what it's about, and they were very receptive, and I was able to get my book on the shelves there. With Indigo, it's a very similar process. I called the store manager at Langley, who deals with the local author section, and I dropped off a copy. She had a look over it. She liked what she saw, and it was on the shelf.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. And is it available, on traditional websites to be able to purchase it as well?
Yeah, it's available on all Amazon platforms, and it's available on my personal website as well.
Okay, cool. So now I'd love for you to read us one of your poems, please.
Okay.
Which one speaks to you tonight on November the 8th at 7:20 p.m.?
All right, I'm going to read one. This is the one that most people, they send me a message saying that they really resonated with this one. So it's called Remainders. I hope we live like tattoos, an artistic open wound, a reminder that permanent art requires pain, and maybe that's why reaching the sunrise hurts so much without you. Talking to you was the best poem I ever wrote, and lately I've had this writer's block, like I stuck my tongue in honey and it cemented when you left.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Oh, okay. That resonates and is going to remain 100% with me. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. So I'd like to wrap this up by asking all my authors, who are 3 people that you believe this book would be a good gift for?
I think this is a great book for someone who needs a sign that there's hope in life. And not only is there hope in life, but we can acknowledge the dark paths that we walk to get there. Another person this would be great for is a nature lover, particularly people who really love the West Coast and the lifestyle and the vibe and the kind of plants we have here in the temperate rainforest. And the last one, this is a book that's really good for dreamers, the kind of people that when they close their eyes, they just see in vivid color. They see their life now, they see their life in the past, they see the life that they're walking towards. And this is a book that's really going to resonate with those kinds of people.
Beautiful. And from what I've learned from you, Natasha, the 3 people that I would say, someone who is responsible for others in creative writing, so a teacher in school. I would also say it would be a great card replacement for a student graduating from grade 12. We all think about that heart in like, I think it'd be a fantastic book for someone like going on to higher education. And I'd also like to say someone who is going through the grieving process. Being that poetry, like I said at the beginning, poetry is easy to read. It's easy. I would say it's fast to read, and the different emotions of grief come and go so quickly, and that to have a soft poem or the rhythm of a poem in nature, we all know when we get back to nature, it just grounds us a little bit more. And I think a lot of people would find solace within your words and within your poetry. So those are 3 people that I believe would make a great gift. And it is gift giving season is coming up, and stocking stuffer season is coming up, and those gifts that you exchange with people. Might as well give a gift. I read somewhere recently, Natasha, is how about we ask the people what they need for a Christmas gift, like give them what they need versus what you think they want. And I think this would be a fantastic gift for Christmas time, or for the upcoming holiday season. So my last question that I wrap this all up, this fun little conversation, is I ask my authors, so what words of wisdom can you give people out there about writing a book?
I think it's really important to let the journey happen. It's easy to get caught up in, I can't wait to have this out here. And when you do that, you can rush parts of the process that are important, because the creating side is much different than when it's out in the world, because then you become an entrepreneur and this is your business, and you have, especially if you self-publish, you're the marketer, you're the distributor, you're the wholesaler, you're the author, you're the pitch. So it's really important to just stay in the moment of each step along the way, because it becomes a very different place once you're through those. And that's not a bad thing, but I think it's important to just enjoy each step along the way.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Natasha, for sharing some of your time with me tonight on the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series. So I wrap this up by saying, go to that bookshelf, grab a book, grab your favorite beverage, snuggle into your couch, take your mind, body, and spirit to someplace else through the words written by somebody else. Thank you, everybody. I will be back next Tuesday night with another edition of the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series. Natasha, stay on because we're going to do a little ussy so I can capture our beautiful faces for the screenshot of the YouTube. So you can also find past episodes of the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Author Series on my YouTube channel. Good night, everybody. Go grab a book.
Good night.